Hello.
I think you could be on mute, Jason.
I don't know why I've updated Teams and now I'm on mute all the time. Probably by popular demand. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Looking forward to another great session.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Richard.
That's better. I've not got the sun shining in my face now.
Do you expect Charlie at this one today, Jason?
He did say he was going to join. He's actually having a non-bat working day. He's working on his farm, but he did say he would join. So,
Good.
But probably best not to wait for him.
Cool. When we're on the hour, do you want to introduce it and then I'll just go from there?
Of course. Well, we've got, I think the invitee said about 30 people joining today. So I don't know if you want to delay it a minute or two. Or...
Yeah, that's fine. My timings are never that on it.
12 o'clock, people are probably just getting a sandwich out of the fridge and running to the computer, I imagine. And here they come. Good to see Fizz joining us. Welcome, Fizz.
Good morning. Good morning. Or should I say afternoon?
Just about now. Yeah. Wait for a few more. I've got 12. Ten more seconds and I'll introduce this. No, should we kick off? Okay, so I'm Jay. I've met a couple of you, I believe, in the past. I recently joined BAT as a sales director about 3 months ago. So I've joined Charlie and the wider crew here at BAT just to drive the company forward and expand our audience and frankly deliver a unified message marketing wise and everything from the front in terms of why we're trying to do what we do and how we do it rather than just what the end product is. So we're really gaining momentum now. We've got a large network of existing users and new users coming to us and new clients. So things are really starting to click because I think the appetite in the industry for not just accepting new technology, which is always there, but I think the advantage is that AI is giving a lot of clients that they frankly need. And we're seeing those who are either already under pressure from the FCA or believe they can see the future that the application of these systems have caught the FCA's attention, and we're volunteering ourselves up for them to research and see what the capability is, so that they can look to the future and if they need to change their methodology and if using AI as a third party rather than using either a third party system like a SimplyBiz, etc., and whether you can do it all in house now. Like checking on yourself is a big talking point that's coming up from lots of sole traders. So, yeah, and again, I'm here to answer any questions as well if you have any, or you've got my details on this chat should you need to come through and just get a deeper view of the system or a demonstration, anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, without further ado, I'll hand you back to Peter, who will explain what today's all about. And again, I'll be sitting in the background should you need me.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, today's session is hopefully building on last month's session, which was like his introduction to machine learning and artificial intelligence. And now we're going to have a look at large language model platform features. So if you remember from last time, large language models is your chat GPTs, we're actually going to have a look at how much a platform like ChatGPT can do for you, and then actually building on what Jason said, actually tie it all the way around, possibly to BAT, in terms of BAT does include a lot of these features, but it does it in a very specific way. If you weren't on the call last time, just a quick introduction on myself. I've got a background in physics. I then have worked probably about 8 years now in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And I also lecture and do workshops effectively on data science and AI at the moment. So let's get going. Just a point. If you have a question at any point, don't feel free just to come off mute and ask it, interrupt me. You could put it in the chat. Jason, if there are questions in the chat, let me know about them. I really don't mind being sort of stopped mid-flow. If you've got the question, then probably someone else is thinking about it, so it's worth addressing. So looking at future talks, what have we done so far? We did the introduction to AI and machine learning. We're going to probably spend this month and next month having a look at all of the features that you may not be aware of that are available with these ChatGPT style products. Why are we talking about ChatGPT in terms of AI? It is the most accessible way that we can use AI. The last talk did sort of highlight that there's lots of different forms of AI, but it's unlikely that you're going to be programming and developing your own algorithms for stuff. It's more likely you're going to be communicating with these large language model interfaces. We then have a go on to at future talks, have a look at some real practical use cases, enterprise AI options, so how they can integrate into things like Microsoft 365. Really sort of get under the hood. What are these things? Agents, although we will actually have a look at that today as well. And then maybe towards the end of the year, we'll have a look at sort of how you would strategically get AI into your industry or into your organization, and sort of bringing your organization and team on that journey. So for today, these are the things that we're going to be looking at. We're going to spend pretty much all the session actually from ChatGPT. It's the most common large language model platform. Next month's one will actually branch to sort of Google's and Anthropic's to have a look at their features. We're going to have a look at the different types of data sources you can connect to, how web browsing works, how you can generate and download custom outputs, how you can schedule tasks, how you can create your own custom AIs on your custom data sources, how you can do data analysis for things that you may have used Excel in the past, you may just give to a chatbot. These things understand images. Why is that possibly useful for you? And these things can also do very deep research tasks, and they can also act as agents. And we'll have a look as well at the different model types. Now, I've changed the order around, but this is roughly what I intend to go over today. So just before I go into this, a reminder on licenses building on last month's session. Generally, all the main large language model platforms like ChatGPT have hierarchies of licenses that, as you professionals, you need to be aware of. If you're using a platform and you haven't registered for it, the chances are the data, the information that you put into that platform, that organization will be using it to build on, to retrain. And from your point of view as an organization, you have leaked that data. So be aware of that. If you're using something that you haven't paid for, you are effectively paying for it in the data that you give them. I am going to be showing most of the demonstrations today on a ChatGPT Plus account. That's about $20 a month. That organization on that account, that license, they will not use the data for retraining. However, because it's a personal account, it isn't actually GDPR compliant. If I wanted to be GDPR compliant, I'd go to an enterprise license, which is actually for ChatGPT. It's similar. It's $25 a month. Google have a similar one. Anthropic have a similar one. So if there are any of the features today that you're thinking, oh, maybe I should bring them into my organization, into my workflows, definitely have a look into the enterprise licenses, because you can make them GDPR compliant and they have all the cloud platform protections that you would expect. However, the data does reside in the US, so you would have to check your data sovereignty rules that you have with your clients. Okay, again, do stop me if there's any questions. Adding data sources. First feature of large language models. Most people have just used them, ask questions like you would in Google, get some stuff back. Now, the last session, I think we had a look at you can upload a PDF or a few PDFs, and that can act as context for you to ask some questions on. Now, these models now in summer 2025 can take a huge variety of data sources in, and they can be uploaded directly from our computer. They have connectors to connect to maybe your OneDrive account. They have connectors to connect to your SharePoint account if you have access. And they will accept many, many different file formats now. So it may be a Word document if you think that has information to help the model answer your question. It may be a CSV, an Excel file, Markdown, PDF. They rarely can deal with most file formats at the moment. Okay, and you can also have some custom connections as well that will go beyond just SharePoint and OneDrive. Let's have a look at a simple example just to remind you about that. If I go on to my ChatGPT, if I ever want to connect to something, it's this plus button, and you'll be able to see these three options here: add photos or files, add from OneDrive, add from SharePoint. Now, what I'm just going to demonstrate is adding a CSV file, so an Excel style file, a spreadsheet file, and that will be Aora Financials Quarterly. That's loading in, it's loaded in. And I'm also going to demonstrate bringing this as a PDF. It's a promotion leaflet for this fake company. And what is the question I'm going to ask is, let's just copy it in from my other screen. So I want to summarize the Tech Solutions core business, recent achievements and 2025 goals. From these documents, what is the company's growth strategy? So it can analyze the information from multiple documents, multiple formats at the same time. This isn't a great prompt, to be honest, but the purpose I'm just trying to show you here is how it can work with these files. This is the spreadsheet data. It's got the revenue from various quarters, and it's given me a nice preview of what I'm looking at. The PDF was there. And this is a fake business, but it's given me the information that I wanted out of it. Okay, you can upload multiple documents like that. Again, if you're on your enterprise account, then you have your security. So if it was any client stuff, that would be secure. Okay, so very simple feature, but very powerful. Adding documents, adding information to your large language model platform. Okay. Got a lot of things to go through, so I'm going to move on. However, are there any questions on that? And please do ask them if you have them. Okay, let's move on. What we're looking at next. Web browsing. Okay. These models came out sort of late 2022, early 2023. At that period in time, the large language models were only as current as their training data. So these algorithms get trained periodically, probably every couple of months. So they only have information in their memory that happened up until that training time. So if I'm working with ChatGPT and it's been trained up until the beginning of January 2025, if I want some information, if I've got a question about something that happened yesterday, it will not have it. And that remains true today. However, what these models can now do is they try to recognize if a question requires recent data. And if they recognize that, they will go out to the internet, pull in some information from the internet that they think is relevant to your question, and therefore try to answer your question based on that recent information. So it fills that gap between their most recent training date cutoff and being able to access recent data. Okay, now sometimes they need a nudge to be able to go out to the web search. So you need to be aware if you know the question you're asking requires recent data sources, you will need to give it a nudge. So we'll have a look at an example of that now. If I just go to a new chat now, if I was to go, what the current NVIDIA share price? There, we immediately saw it's gone, it said searching the web, and it's brought information down from the web, and it's actually, these were the sources it used for that. Okay, now, if you think of these models, they have a bit of a triage aspect. What's the current price of NVIDIA? I'm going to need recent information for that. So for that kind of stuff, you can trust it's going to go out to the web. However, if I came up with a new question, so I've got a bad headache after getting off the flight from my current holiday to India. My guess is, if I run that, it is not going to search the web. The model has decided that this type of question does not require recent information. And that seems logical. Okay. Headache, you get dehydrated flying, things like that. The model has decided recent information wasn't required. However, this model does not necessarily know at this point if maybe there was some massive COVID-style outbreak or disease in India last week. So, and that could have actually provided information as to why I had a headache. Okay, so be aware if you're asking questions that may have relevance to current events that are going on, it's quite easy to do. You can just push it to do a web search just by saying, please search the web first. And now what we'll see, it searched the web. It had a look at those sources. And we can see some references, medical news today, Wikipedia, health. We've got lots of different web sources there. So therefore, if something had gone on in India, I imagine in the last week, that therefore was increasing the chance of headaches, that web search will have brought that in, and therefore be able to answer the question in a more specific way with up-to-date information. Okay, so generally, you can trust these models to go out to the web for recent information, but do have your wits about you if you need recent information. Okay, any questions on web search? Brilliant. Okay, we're flying through this. Let me go back to my slides. What have we got next? Reasoning versus non-reasoning models. Just to get an idea of almost the literacy of this audience, has anyone heard these two terms, reasoning and non-reasoning models, when it comes to things like ChatGPT? If you could just put your hand up, I'll get a quick idea. Okay, we've got a physical hand from Richard. Yeah, Craig. I think there's probably about 3 hands, and okay, good. So I think we've got maybe a third to a half have an understanding of these things. So what a reasoning model is, and you can put your hands down now, so thank you for that, is effectively it is taking a single prompt and it's answering that question multiple times in multiple different ways by breaking it down. Okay, whereas a non-reasoning model takes your question and just answers it once, whereas a reasoning model takes your question, breaks it down into bits and answers it in separate bits, and therefore it can almost think harder about the problem. Okay, so for instance, maybe if I'd put that India question through a reasoning model, instead of just blurting out headaches associated with flying, it may have said, okay, first I need to do a check on were there any events going on in India, and then it goes out, gets that information back. Then it's like, okay, now I want to have a think about, is there anything associated with flying and headaches? So it takes this multiple paths over the problem. Okay, now what this means is you can usually get more intelligent answers through reasoning models. However, they do take longer to go. They take longer to run because effectively they're taking multiple passes. They're breaking down your question and your problem into many, many steps in order to try to give you a better answer. Now, a lot of our major platforms, the models are now reasoning models. However, as I'll talk about in a minute, latest ChatGPT updates, it can sort of divert your question to a reasoning model if it thinks it's really hard, or just a simple single response model if it thinks it's really easy. So it's something definitely to be aware of. If it's taking a long time to come back, it's thinking over it a long time. If it came back very quickly, it probably hasn't put much thought into it. So again, if you were really expecting a nice, well thought out response and it instantly comes back, you may have been pushed to a less intelligent model. Now, one of the easiest ways to sort of think about a reasoning versus non-reasoning example when these models came out is something like a crossword. Non-reasoning models are quite bad at doing crosswords because crosswords involve that sort of iteration. What is the first clue across? Well, I have a few possibilities, so therefore I'm going to do that. It fits with the second down, but actually those combinations will not fit with 11 across. Because it's only had one pass through the problem, it can't iterate on itself. So again, more complicated questions and prompts, things that maybe involve more complex strategy if you're thinking about your business or maybe some investment questions. A reasoning model that can go back on itself, evaluating what it initially thought and correcting itself may be a better approach to go. So it's good to have an awareness on what the difference between these models are and what is going on when that model takes a longer time to go through your response. Okay. The other thing with reasoning models, which we can probably have a look at, just to make the quite obvious, we just go into Google again. Just going to use one of Google's models, which is a reasoning model. If I just ask it a very simple question, can I have a 3-course dinner where each dish complements each other's in flavour and texture? If I run this, with reasoning models, you can often get its reasoning process and you can have a look at that. And that possibly can give you some confidence in the response you're getting out. So in this example, it's just gone through its suggestions for the first, main course and dessert. But what's important is if we scroll up, we have it first is exploring the options. It then goes on to plan the menu. So having that almost transparency of thought can be helpful when you're trying to critique the answers that you're getting out of these models. Okay. However, these models, when actually some companies have looked into them, there is evidence of behavior where the model was actually initially trying to jump to their final answer and try to make up reasons to support their final answer. Okay, which isn't actually that dissimilar sometimes to humans. If you're asked a question, maybe to think hard about it, you may have some sort of gut feeling this is going to be my answer, and then you work backwards to make up reasoning to support your answer. So whilst reasoning is a good insight, it is not 100% bulletproof. Okay. And again, these models, they have billions of numbers going on. There's a lot of research still going on into how actually they behave. And this is one of the things that they're looking into is effectively sometimes they try to fool us a little bit. Okay. So I thought I'd just go through the difference in those reasoning models. Any questions at a high level, reasoning versus non-reasoning? Okay, very good. Let's move on to another feature. Okay, I just thought I'd have a note on ChatGPT 5 because it did slightly alter the way I was going to do this session. ChatGPT 5 came out for about 10 days ago or so now. This is the latest ChatGPT model, and it does not give us options as if we want to use a reasoning model or a non-reasoning model. Okay, it does effectively the triage for us. So that's why we were saying, just be aware if your response is taking a long time to come back, the chances are lots of passes, lots of intelligence have been put on that response. If it comes back quickly, then chances are it's been put for a low intelligence model. But to some degree, the control has been taken out of your hands with that specific model. Okay, deep research mode. This was going to be at the end of the presentation, but it takes a long time to run. So we're going to talk about it, do the example and come back to it. What deep research is designed to do, it's a feature of many of these platforms, is it's designed to effectively, it's a reasoning process. So many passes, many prompts go in and out, and the model decides what the prompts are, where it is effectively going out to the web and trying to do very deep research on the question that you've asked. So the responses in deep research mode often cite 30 to 50 or so references on the question that you are answering. They use optimized models for reasoning. You will not get deep research using just your standard model. So I said they go many iterations. They'll probably start off, if you've got a question, with a big structured plan of what I need to do. It's like when you get an essay question, you don't just start writing. You think, okay, I need to first have a look at this area of the research. Maybe what I learned from that area of the research will define a second iteration of what bits I need to go out and research. Then I begin to write the main piece. What I've got in the main piece, I then may actually go back to start writing the introduction. So it's a multi-phase process, which is why it can take a long time. Now, they will often give it a nice structured output. It won't just be a splodge of text. It will be a nice report that they will give out. However, do be aware the standard limitations with large language models do still apply with deep research. They can hallucinate where they make stuff up. They could be pulling information from web sources that are just quite frankly wrong. Okay, now you will be able to critique those web sources because it will say which ones it's used. And also this feature cannot get at paywalled material. So let's say you have access to loads of material from Bloomberg, deep research will not. Okay, now I've put this graph on the right hand side to show you potentially what the impact of these deep research models has done actually to the industry. This is Gartner. So Gartner, one of the big things they offer is doing deep research for clients on topics, areas of the sector they're in. Around here, so January 2025, February 2025 is where the Chinese DeepSeek model came out, which everyone got very excited about reasoning, despite it wasn't the first. And we can see pretty much Gartner's share price is halved. And a lot of that has been attributed to the fact that why pay Gartner to do some research when you can have these very powerful deep research agents doing it for you. Okay, so some possible use cases. Maybe you want some good research on sort of regulatory change analysis, have a look at the market sector you're in, comparing tax efficient investment wrappers, fund performance, producing client educational material. To be honest, this is probably a bit out of my depth because I'm not actually in sort of the IFA industry. However, these are the type of questions you could use it for. Now, I've prepared 3 questions that I'd like to do one of them today. Do you want to just put in the chat if you're interested to see the output of 1, 2, or 3 through deep research? So just write 1, 2, or 3, put in the chat once you've read them, and I will get a deep research job going on. And hopefully by the end, we will have a report that I could just share with you in the chat so you can assess what kind of output you get. Okay, so I've got 1, 3, 3's in the lead currently, 2, 3's, 3's still in the lead. 1, 1, 3's definitely still in the lead. 4, 5. Okay, I think the majority is interested in 3. So the quality of the prompt actually of deep research doesn't matter too much because it's effectively trying to sort of steer the problem itself. So I'm not going to worry too much about the quality of the prompt. How do I use deep research? New chat, add, and we can put it onto this deep research mode. Now, by default, it's enabled web search. So I do want it to go out to the web for my research. You may have it connected to your OneDrive, so it can have a look at documents in your OneDrive to support that, if you think that's appropriate. There's also SharePoint connectors in here, Google Drive, things like that. So these are all just bits of information that may help it with its report. So I'm going to get that running. I'm just going to double check it's not going to come back and ask me any questions. It is. Oh gosh. To explore, are you looking for analysis under proposed government plans?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, I'm all right. I'm watching a very dull webinar on.
Wow, that's all good. Okay, so I've got these questions. I'm just going to put yes to that. 2, I'm going to put should we focus on any assets? No, just general. And 3, we're going to put yes, everything. And 4, we're going to put are we interested in regional variations? I'm just going to put no. Okay, that job should have gone. Hopefully that should go off now. And that is now starting its research, and we'll come back to that in a second. Any questions about how deep research is working or how to get it going?
Hi, Pete, it's Des here.
Yes, hello.
It was just to say that I don't find it dull at all. It's great so far.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Good. Okay, so this job will be running. I suspect it will take between 5 and 10 minutes, so we will come back to it. Okay. Good. That's our deep research. Another exciting one, agent mode. This was brought in probably about a month to 2 months ago. Agent mode is a bit like deep research, although effectively, if you put it in agent mode with a question, it starts a mini computer inside your web browser where it has access to browse the web in the exact same way you would. So it can go into websites, it can scroll down the website, it can click on that download PDF for that document that it may be helping the question. It can then access a lot of areas of the web that deep research can't, that just sort of pulls the information straight down. And what agents do is they sort of come up with a strategy to how to achieve the task. And this is what agent mode of ChatGPT is doing. So for instance, the compile competitor analysis report, as an example, it may think, okay, to start with, I need to retrieve the list of top 5 competitors from the market or from a database. So how may it do that? It says it will go into Google and effectively say, who are the top 10 competitors in my domain? Then it does some research on that. And now it needs to gather the recent financial data on that. So it will probably one by one say, give me recent financial data for company 1, see what the return is, go into that website, pull the information down. And it will do this like your human researcher would. Okay. Now we can also give it like information of our own to start off with to help this agentic task. So let's actually have a look at some possible examples before we go on to the one that I've prepared. You may have client portfolio already there, or you may want to actually generate it from scratch. So you may give some details about the client, and you could ask agent mode to pull a draft client portfolio together for you. Okay, you could get it to create pre-meetings briefing packs, a regulatory compliance checklist, an IFA newsletter. Okay. Now, what I'm going to get it to do is this example down here. I have a fake client portfolio. And what I want it to do is read and extract all the portfolio holdings from that profile, analyze the diversification. So it's going to have a look, I imagine, at what sector they come in and things like that. Identify any concentration of liquidity risks. Suggest 3 suitable investment options from UK approved products. Produce a concise comparison table of these options, include risk level, etc., and export the final analysis and recommendations as a PDF. So the information, I'll get this going so we can see what happens live. So we can see the deep research is a third of the way through. So let's go on a new tab. Go into agent mode. Now, the document I'm given, just so I'm giving it so you're aware, is a very basic. This is a portfolio. It's got some basic client names all made up, primary goal, and it's got some assets that they already have in their portfolio. Okay, so pretty basic stuff. And I'm just going to give it that to start it off with. So I'm going to add the file, which was that one. I'll give it the PDF actually. Good, so that's there. And I'm now just going to copy in that prompt. And what we'll do is we'll just have a quick look at it as it gets going, because it'll give you an understanding of how this agent is working. Okay, setting up my desktop. So what it's doing here is actually, this agent is not operating in your computer, so it's completely isolated. It's going to set up its own computer. And then here we go. So this is, it's now reading that client portfolio. The PDF viewer is, it's all happening quite quickly. We could go on activity to get a log of what's going on. So these are all the steps it's gone through. I need to upload the PDF file. I'm opening the file. It's got an issue. It can't seem to pass the file. So it's now going to do some clever computer stuff. It's now decided it needs to rename the PDF. And it's done that. It's now managed to open it. And now if we go further down, we'll probably find it's now starting to search the web. And it's searching the web. If we go to desktop view, it's actually opening these pages. Now, this actually does mean potentially if you are looking to use paywalled stuff, you can here take over that browser. And you can actually, so it's for some reason, it's gone into life strategy, 60%, whatever this fund is. But you could click on that page and now it's extracted all the information from that page. If you thought that was useful. And then you can say, again, imagine there's a login here, something you wanted to sort of do in your way, and you can go finish controlling. It's just going to carry on with its task. Okay. So that shouldn't be stopped. Yeah, it's carry on working. Excellent. Let's just click continue. Just want to double check that that job will still continue, because in about 10 minutes, I want to go back to it. Okay. There. Okay, brilliant. It's carried on. Any questions on agent mode? And I appreciate we're going through this super fast. Okay. So both deep research and agent, very good for these research tasks effectively. At the moment, I slightly prefer agent mode. I think it can access material that research doesn't. Okay, I may actually leave custom outputs for now, just so that we get on to some other things. So we'll actually have set up a recurring task or schedule. I find this not a particularly well-known feature, but a very useful feature. So within ChatGPT, you could ask it to do a news search related to HSBC Bank every morning and provide a short summary for me and apply this at 5:30 a.m. Okay, so if I go to my ChatGPT now, and I'm going to have to start another window. Let's move that over there. Okay, and I'll actually show you my chats. Wherever I have something task is actually a task that happens every day. So I monitor NVIDIA because it's obviously a big company in AI. I'm interested in the Ukraine conflict, and these conversations get updated every day with the most recent news. So for instance, can anyone write in the chat what kind of task, what kind of thing would they be interested in knowing maybe once a day or once a week? I'll just copy the first thing that someone puts in the chat. FTSE 15-year gilt. So that's the price there. So what is, okay, so to do this, it's a bit weird. So set up a repeating schedule for what is the, let's see. Yeah, okay. So is it, sorry, I need to have it on auto. That's my bad. Let's try that again. Now, there's no like specific button like you would get in traditional software for these tasks. You literally have to ask it. And now it's given me this box, which enables me, that chat will be called check the FTSE 15-year gilt, find and report the latest value of the FTSE 15-year gilt. So those are the instructions, and you can select if it happens daily, weekly, monthly. If you want it daily, what time you want it to come through. Save that, and that will effectively run every morning, and it will come up automatically in your chat that you can have a view of. So yeah, there's not actually too much to that. So if we just run it now as a test, we'll just get an example of the kind of output we'd expect back. So it's effectively just scheduling that prompt to run. Okay, just whilst we're getting the answer here, are there any questions?
Hi Pete, can you get that to then email it to you for us more sort of, that would be more useful, I think. Does that, can you link it to your Outlook so that it then would send you the output of that?
It's a great question. In the settings, you'd have to look at what your connections, connectors. So at the moment, ChatGPT integrates okay with sort of Gmail. It's pretty good at pulling information in. There is a way you can do it using something called MCP connections, which is a bit more fiddly, where it can actually take actions and send emails on your behalf. It wouldn't surprise me if this kind of feature will be coming quite soon, where it can do that kind of stuff. So at the moment, I don't think you can in like the simple way, but definitely look out for that, because I imagine it would be possible, if not now, very soon.
Sorry, Pete, I don't know who asked that question there, but you can actually do that through Google just now. You can go into Google, type in a search term, and then get it to email it to you every morning.
Hello.
Even better. Even better. There you
Yeah.
go.
There you go.
Brilliant. So tasks and schedules, that's really good. And the final thing we were going to have a look at is what a custom. Let's have a look at what custom GPT is. So depending on the platform that you work on, in ChatGPT, they're called custom GPTs. If you work with Copilot, they're called custom Copilot. If it's Gemini, they're called Gems. Or if it's Claude Anthropic, they call them projects. These are effectively versions of the platform that you have sort of pre-tuned with instructions to behave in a certain way and to have knowledge that you've uploaded for this specific task. Okay, so in ChatGPT, they're super easy to create. I'll show you the button. You literally go to My GPTs to configure them. You give it custom instructions. So it could be your objective here is to be able to write professional formal letters to my clients, and I like my letters always written in this kind of structure, as an example. Knowledge, you may want to give it some custom knowledge to refer to. So you may have some terms that you like in your letters, and you may upload that. All kinds of files that you may put in there depending on the task. You can select the capabilities that you want this custom ChatGPT that you've made to have. So that could be web search, it could be to generate images. If you think it's going to have to do some calculations, I would suggest enabling the code interpreter. Actions, if you want it to be able to pull from more complicated data sources, maybe you've got data in HubSpot or Monday.com, then you can actually set them up there, although it's a little more complicated. So you've now got this custom bot that can bring together lots of stuff and behave in a certain way. So I'll quickly show you a simple example. Over here on the left-hand side, you've got GPTs. If you were going to go to create, here, in configure, I'm going to create a GPT that will be called IFA jargon. Okay, so what is this description? Turns any complicated financial terminology into simple language. Okay, I'll do. So maybe useful for talking to certain clients. Now, what I'm just going to do is copy over an example. Yeah, okay. So instructions. UK IFA jargon translator, ChatGPT that turns financial jargon into plain English. Give it some example of the purpose. What's it supposed to do? And you can actually use ChatGPT to help you set these up. So have a conversation. I need to set up something for this task. How do you suggest I set up the instructions? Because that's all I've done here. Given an example, rewrite this in plain English. And you can test it here. So if I was just to put a simple example in, copy that over so you don't see all my typos as normal. Given the recent uptake in SONA swaps and tightening of lender spends, most of the high streets 2 and 5 year fixes are repricing upwards. So we're advising clients to lock in early to mitigate rate risk ahead of the next MPC meeting. Now, I'm not directly involved in finance, so that doesn't make too much sense to me. However, ChatGPT easily, this specific one, most banks and building societies are increasing the cost of their 5-year. That makes a lot more sense to me. So I may, at that point, just click create. Where's my mouse gone here? I can select who has it. Now, if you're on an enterprise license, you will have the option to be able to share with other people in your organization. That's where it becomes quite useful because you could make lots of these little bots together for specific tasks. That I would just share it with only me. You can make them public. Obviously, be aware if they're public, anyone can search them via ChatGPT. And then I will So I'll select that and I will save that. Once that's saved, it will appear. If I go back to here, it will appear on my left-hand side. If I went to my GPTs now and searched my GPTs, IFA jargon, and therefore I could access all of that. And that was a really simple example, but imagine now you've given it lots of your company files, lots of your policies, lots of your processes, and maybe you've got a new member of staff who's not sure about the ways that you do things. Something like this could be really, really impactful. Okay. Again, really quick, but hopefully it gives you an insight. Any questions on those? Okay. Let's see what we've got left. Analyze and visualize data. So these models are really good at working with text and generating text. Now, computer code is also text. They're very good at writing computer code. So what these models can do, if you're wanting to use them for data analysis, is they understand your problem. They have a pretty good grasp of data analysis, and then they write computer code to be able to solve your problem. So if, for instance, you had an enterprise license, if you're dealing with anything secure, and maybe you wanted some analysis done on some spreadsheet data or a portfolio, and you didn't want to have to go through all the Excel formulas yourself, you could upload that, give it a task or an objective, and it will go and write the computer code to try to fulfill that objective, doing some data analytics. If we wanted to have a quick look at how that works, again, ChatGPT, super intuitive. Going to go to new chat. Again, it's that upload button. I'm going to upload an Excel spreadsheet called Model Vehicle Sales. It says it's in use. So I'll quickly show you it whilst it's in use. This is your sort of typical toy sort of sales data set. It's got a load of products. It's got fake customers with their addresses and their various regions. And then it's also got a big sales table. So your very basic database, you've got your sales table connected to your customer table, connected to your product table. Okay, so I'm just going to cross that out so ChatGPT can now connect to it. There we go. And I may want to know what was the best performing product in the data set. Suggest, what should we have? Give me a graph of the top 10 products. Also give me a graph of sales revenue by region. Okay. So we've got here a preview of that Excel spreadsheet. It's an Excel spreadsheet. It's got tabs, so it's got a few tables, orders, customers, products, as we said. What we have here is you don't have to understand it, but what's going on? ChatGPT is writing the code to load in that spreadsheet. It's now separating out the spreadsheet into its various sheets. It's having a quick look at them to try to understand what's going on. It's now, for instance, doing some calculations. It's decided that revenue will be the quantity times by the unit price. That seems to make sense to me. It's now doing the merging of the tables. It's saying in order for me to actually calculate revenue of particular products, I need to bring that sales table and connect it in with that, that products table. And then we've got this graph coming out. So it looks like the best performing product was this 1960 to 1962 vehicle. Now that graph is a bit, doesn't look great. You could go back to ChatGPT and ask it to improve its formatting with that kind of graph if it's something that you just wanted to download and drop into a PowerPoint very quickly. And also we find that EMEA is by far the best performing region. So that could have saved us some time, especially if we're not a whiz at Excel. that we've quickly gone through it like that. We could also have a conversation as well with strategy, a conversation with ChatGPT about our strategy at this point. Maybe we could have a back and forth on what could be a good method to maybe increase our sales based on looking at that data. There's loads of possibilities at this point. Really, that was really quick again. Any questions on ChatGPT for data analysis? Okay. I would suggest if you can't, and there's no expectation that you would be able to read sort of computer code, I would put in the prompt, be very clear explaining what you are doing, and then you, the educated human, can validate it. When it says it's creating revenue by doing quantity times by product, then you're like, well, that makes sense. Okay, so just have a conversation with it in order to get what you want and get the confidence that it's doing what you think it should be doing. Okay. Now, okay, we've got 6 minutes. So that was pretty much everything we were going to cover. That's the majority of ChatGPT features. I just wanted to go back so I could show you what that deep research report looks like. Why is that paused? Okay, let's first go to the, where did I put the deep research? Should have been logged on the left here. Okay, so the UK inheritance tax planning, did that finish? Okay, so here it is. And I can download that, and it's given me this very long report. Let's download it as a PDF. Obviously, if it's a Word document and you wanted to use it, then you would be able to easily remove that ChatGPT header from it. Where did that PDF go? Apologies, I just lost that PDF. Get it up again. There we go. Just to give you an idea on how many pages it produced and how many references it had. Like it had 49. Yeah, about 50 references. You can see 49 there. And it's about 10 pages of research. I could probably, I haven't got time. Are there any hands up who'd be interested to actually read that report? Because I could get Charlie just to send it out with, okay, I can see at least one hand, in which case I will, we'll send it out. And therefore you can evaluate it because you know this topic and you can decide if it's any good or not. And very quickly, let's see how that if that portfolio analysis finished. The portfolio analysis also finished. It worked for 9 minutes on that. And this is what it gave on that. Let's have a look. It has got some strategies. Again, I think I will send this through. I'll give you the fake portfolio to start with, and you can reflect on if you thought it did a reasonable job or not, as you are more of the experts in this domain. But this is the kind of thing it came out with. Now, for the last 2 minutes or so, I just want to bring this back to BAT, because this is a BAT webinar, I believe. Now, I've talked about lots of the intelligent features that these partially free. I know I pay a $20 a month. There is a $200 a month, but they're very available, these platforms. to do this kind of intelligent behavior. Now, BAT also uses a lot of the intelligence that we've looked at today. And when you actually play around with ChatGPT and the features we have to self, you may get a better understanding as to what BAT does. So BAT at its heart does sort of your compliance and your file checking and your fact finds that you will need for your compliance. Now, we looked at just connecting with data sources today. BAT enables you to effectively put any of these fact find files, different formats in, and it will understand them. That's all been dealt with for you. Very importantly, it is fully covered under GDPR regulation and sovereignty. My understanding is the data does not leave the UK, which therefore does meet a lot of compliance regulations. ChatGPT Enterprise cannot guarantee that at the moment. We looked at web browsing. I very much doubt BAT does any web browsing because it wants it wants to know what knowledge sources it's using for its intelligence behavior. So what it will do is it will use custom knowledge, and the organization knows the kind of knowledge it needs to refer to do this information for your file checking. Now, you may also have an idea on that, but my understanding is they're the experts. They've got years of understanding what we need to have in a fact find, what we are looking for. We didn't cover visualizing data. That's the wrong bit. There would be some data analysis requirements in BAT. Potentially it's looking to verify some numbers. It will be doing effectively what we just saw in ChatGPT there, but in a far more controlled manner. Okay. And in terms of that deep research, where it's running multiple passes, looking at the data, coming back, looking at what it's got, coming back, aspects of BAT will also be doing that, but in a very well crafted, specific way in order to achieve this specific goal for fact finding and file checking. So I thought I'll just bring it back round, and therefore you may get a better idea on how this BAT software is actually sort of working under the hood. Philip, I can see you've got a question. You're on mute, I think.
I would just put my hand up for to be included in receiving the report of IHT.
Oh yes. Okay, brilliant. Good. Okay, we're on the hour. Quick summary, we didn't manage to cover everything, but hopefully you've got a better idea now of all of the things these platforms can do. I think things like deep research and agent are really exciting. The data analysis can be really good. And even those tasks and web search just enable the capability of the intelligence that we have at the moment. I will post a feedback link in the chat. It basically just has sort of, did this land for you? Is there anything particular you would like to explore at other sessions? That is everything from me. Sorry, I've gone 1 minute over, but I will stay on the line if there's any questions. But yeah, Jason, do you want to finish up?
Thanks, Pete. Yeah, no, thank you. That was brilliant. I was sitting there playing with the chat GPTs that I've been aware of, but I've not actually gone in and done any deep research on. So that was really good for me as well. Thank you. I think there is a lot of crossover there, like you say, with generic AI information and what that's doing. And as you said there very kindly, that absolutely we offer a system that, you know, that is completely data compliant. The data is not exported outside of the UK. It cannot be. It's only utilised within us, and we're not using web-based browsing because it's feeding on about 80,000 previous file checking cases to get its data right, and it's being updated all the time with the new methods. So. And obviously we're in line with the FCA requirements all the time, so it is constantly updated. So yeah, no, that was good. That was fantastic. Thank you very much. And if, as you say, if anybody's got any critical bits that they want to cover off in the next version, please just let us know and we can add them in. And if you need any more information on that, of course, just drop us an email and get in touch.
Perfect.
Otherwise, there's nothing else from me. Perfect.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Pete.
We'll see you next time.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Pete.
So, see ya.
Excellent. I'm not sure what the next one is actually. Is that in 2 weeks?
They're roughly at the end of the month, so 3 to 4 weeks, I think.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
I'll get that trimmed down and then.
So Pete, before you go,
Yeah.
if I can ask a question.
Yeah.
So are there some browsers better than others for financial services, something, or are they all still competing for the same market sort of thing?
So when you say for some browsers, some sort of AI platforms like
AI platforms,
yeah.
sorry.
Definitely there are some that are better. Now, for instance, Anthropic Claude did an agreement with Bloomberg recently. They have a special financial one, which I must admit I only sort of heard in the headlines, but let's have a look. Claude.
We're using Claude.
Okay, brilliant. But I think there's like a special now financial.
That's what we're researching and moving into in the next 3 months, hopefully. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I think it's basically it's an LLM with a lot more access to your typical financial data.
All right.
Is my understanding.
I'm not trying to get too much detailed financial information. It was just interesting to see that what you could do, and it's really about saving staff costs and things like that. That could be and time of my own doing things that it flags up or shows that what we can be doing, and obviously for the future, doing reports and things like that is a long thing for the paraplanner. So if that can shave time off, that'd be good. I know Charlie's been pushing the auto reports and things like that, but sometimes you get information thrown at you, you don't have time to read it, and you feel as if, what was that guy saying 2 weeks ago, sort of thing. So it's always just like, but this is the future. This is happening all the time and developing now as we speak, and you need to stop and learn it.
That's Peter's mentioned it before. Sorry, Pete. With you've got to be careful though with the engine you're using, and if you feed in live client data, you are putting it out there for everyone, and that's what the FCA are presumably all over, I guess. But I mean, they're on this real AI program at the moment where they're inviting all potential partners in to kind of open their doors really and see what's going on and research the industry and how it could be used, and obviously putting client data on the web through AI that's then outside of the UK being used for retraining is obviously a big no-no. So because you're breaching GDPR almost immediately, so it's a tricky one. Yeah.
But this is where because if you do have a ChatGPT enterprise license, there's a agreement you can. So the license is $25 per month. It's not that different to an individual license. You have to sign I think it's a data protection agreement that effectively extends GDPR protections from the UK. It brings ChatGPT within that wrapper. So that means all of the stuff that you would expect to protect client data in terms of sort of privacy protection, all those things, the principles of GDPR. The problem I have is certain clients still do not want their data outside of the UK. Now that's just because ChatGPT have agreed to comply with GDPR, it doesn't mean to say sovereignty regulations have been applied. So that is where I think there's a big grey area that people think, oh, I've got an enterprise license, but does your client, are they happy with the data sitting on a US server, despite that US server is GDPR compliant? So I would, if you are thinking of going down that line, Jason, you may know more, maybe talk to more of a specialist in that area to just get some real clarity. And you can also email OpenAI as well. They have a trust portal to get verification on that.
Very good. Okay. That's good. And I'll wait for the next session. Okay, Pete.
Perfect. Take care.
Lovely, Philip.
Okay.
Right.
I haven't spoken to you before. Nice to speak to you, Jason.
And you. We'll catch up soon.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.